Iran is dismissing President Donald Trump's economic threats.
Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi is rejecting President Donald Trump's threats of economic pain and isolation, saying such failed policies will only stir more hostility among Iranians and bring more failures. Trump has threatened crushing economic measures against Iran, promising economic warfare and isolation on an unprecedented scale. Araghchi says in a social media post that Trump's threats are meant to divert the attention of the U.S. public from domestic financial problems. I'm Donna Warder.
Federal agents have seized electronic devices related to allegations of sexual misconduct against former California Representative Eric Swalwell.
Federal agents seized electronic devices from former Representative Eric Swalwell at the San Francisco airport on Saturday and searched his Washington home a day later as part of an investigation into allegations of sexual misconduct by the ex-Democratic congressman from California. Swalwell resigned from Congress in April following allegations that he had sexually assaulted a woman twice, including when she worked for him. 3 other women also allege various kinds of sexual misconduct. The 7-term lawmaker was considered one of the leading candidates in California's gubernatorial race before dropping out after the allegations surfaced. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
Communities still recovering from last weekend's hurricane in Hawaii could get pounded again in coming days. Hurricane Lala tore roofs off houses, covered roads in mud, and left thousands of homes without power. Now forecasters are warning another tropical storm could form as early as today in the Pacific and approach the islands this weekend. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 703 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Hey, y'all, I'm Willie Robertson.
And I'm Corey Robertson.
We partnered with Echo. It's a new platform, not just streaming.
Movies and series that are safe for your family.
I love a podcast.
Plus, Echo Daily Devotionals.
Echo. Hey, Willie, what is Echo?
Echo is my pet squirrel.
Okay, yeah.
Echo is not just faith-friendly, it is faith-driven.
Be a part of something better.
Echo.
Echo.
It's where I want to be.
That's EKKL.com.
Subscribe now.
Hey, it's Flo here to say drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds.
Nice. With my new savings, I'll get some hiking gear. It'll be great for my outdoor era.
I don't know if it counts as an era if you just buy stuff.
I got a cute hiking backpack. It's an outdoor era.
Well, you only bought one thing. I don't think it's an era.
Well, I think we're in a agree to disagree era.
Yeah, sure, you're probably right. Anyway, with the money you could save by switching to Progressive, you can afford to switch to other things in life. It's
my savings era.
Also, everything you do is not an era.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
A space rescue is being called off.
NASA's Swift Observatory's been tracking some of the biggest explosions in the universe for more than 20 years. Gamma-ray bursts and exploding stars. But intense solar activities caused the aging space telescope to lose altitude faster than expected. So early last month, NASA launched a $30 million effort to try to lift it into a longer-lasting orbit. But Catalyst Space Technologies' Link spacecraft has been plagued by control issues, and the company and NASA say they're now ending the attempt, dooming Swift to a fiery re-entry through Earth's atmosphere. I'm Ben Thomas.
China has kicked off the 2026 World Robot Conference in Beijing, showcasing its expanding robotics industry. Around 3,000 products will be featured during the 5-day event. News and analysis at townhall.com. From Washington, I'm Keith Peters. The latest Federal Reserve minutes.
From the KSEV Weather Center. Tonight, expect mainly clear skies with high humidity and a low temperature of 79 degrees. Tomorrow will bring partly sunny conditions with intense heat reaching a high of 101 degrees. As night falls, anticipate partly cloudy skies with warm and humid weather and a low of 80 degrees. Looking ahead to Saturday, it'll be a hot day with a mix of sun and clouds and the possibility of a thunderstorm in the afternoon. The high temperature on Saturday will once again be 101 degrees. With the KSCB Weather Center forecast, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Jason Caterina.
This program is brought to you in part by Ability Tree Experts. Ability Tree Experts, Houston's leading tree care professionals.
Call 281-441-4179.
Be a Planner Show host Nathan Ross wants to remind you, please consider all the syndication terms of your private real estate partnership. By understanding the syndication math, Nathan can help you assess the benefits of ownership. Visit beaplanner.com or tune in each Sunday at 7 a.m. for the Be a Planner Show with Nathan Ross, CPA on KSEV.
Thank goodness our weather experts are providing us with hurricane tracking charts and reminding us to be prepared for big storms. But they overlook one very important thing, the damage and destruction from broken limbs and uprooted trees. Call Louis Flory at Ability Tree Experts today, my friend for nearly 40 years, at 281-441-4179, and let him explain how this problem can be minimized with professional pruning. You see, when the tree canopy is too thick and dense, the tree can be completely blown over and tree limbs broken, causing terrible damage to the tree and maybe your home. Where tree limbs break, sap will ooze, and that attracts harmful insects. So you need to call Louis Flory today at 281-441-4179 and have his experts come out and professionally prune your trees to withstand sudden storms that are so frequent this time of year. Visit their website at abilitytrees.com. That's 281-441-4179. Ability Tree Experts, Houston's leading tree care professional.
KSEV 700 AM.
Launch control, this is Houston. We are go for launch.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's ChrisXradio. ChrisXradio.
What we need right now is a clear message to the people of this country. This message must be read in every newspaper, heard on every radio, seen on every television. This message must resound throughout the entire interlink.
And now, your host.
I believe this is going to be our finest hour.
Chris X.
Oh man, it is that day. It is that time. The unique time of ChrisXradio. I still think we're the only program in the world that has been able to pull this off, especially for like 7+ years now. So don't ask me how we've done it. Don't ask me how we do it. We just do. Good afternoon and welcome to ChrisXradio. I am the aforementioned X-Man. We come bearing a gift beyond price that is almost free, ladies and gentlemen. We bring you the spirit of talk radio, something that has been drastically reduced here in recent years. But we have assumed control of the airwaves, and we will maintain control of these airwaves for the next 2 hours as we bring you that gift. So we got a lot going on today, okay? It is our Friday show on Thursday, which means we'll talk about whatever is on your mind. That's what we do every Friday on Thursday. And you're like, wait. People always ask me, what's the Friday, Thursday? Because the Amigos take over every Friday from 4 to 6. So what does that mean? So what do? Well, we rock and roll. We manipulate the time-space continuum, move our Friday show to Thursday, and kick the weekend off 24 hours ahead of everyone else. Why do we do it? Because we can, because we want to. So for those of you who are ready for the weekend, well, we're already kicking it off. And if you want to join us, I'll go ahead and open up the phones here for the first couple of segments. 281-558-KSEV, 281-558-5738. It is our Friday show on Thursday. We'll have some fun. Also, here at the bottom of the hour, we're going to talk with a guest you may have never heard of, probably don't know him, or may have listened to him for the last 14 years here on KSEV. He is the short-timer host of the Chris Salcedo Show that aired weekdays 7 to 9 a.m., on the Voice of Texas. He is moving on to greener pastures. No, he's not dying. He's not going to go tend the rabbits. He's got a bigger, better offer, something national, maybe syndicated. I don't know. He hasn't let the cat out of the bag, but maybe he will. Starting next week, he is going to be no longer on the Voice of Texas. So I've got Chris Salcedo joining us here at 4:30. I've only had him on just a very few amount of times on the program because for years he was doing his Newsmax television show. And then he couldn't do the show because it was at the same time we're doing the show. And then he was doing other stuff. And now he does his his Twitter X hangout thing. And he always does so much. So I'm so glad he's going to be able to join us. I tried to call in this morning in the 8 a.m. hour, but he had so many guests and they were backed up I wasn't able to get on. So you think you got it bad? I couldn't even get in. So think about that. Well, then again, I do have the ability to bring him on my program. So he'll join us here at the bottom of the hour. Chris Salcedo, short timer, a.k.a. the host of the Chris Salcedo Show. I'll see if I can get him to break any news on the program. Also, apparently there was some sort of announcement, some sort of press release that came out yesterday on our social media channels. They came out during my show, so I have not read them. I have not been able to see them, so I still don't know what's going to happen on Monday. So I'm just going to wait and just find out what happens on Monday. Apparently it has something to do with that. So I don't know. But it came out during my show, so I couldn't really just read them. So I had to wait and see, and I just decided, you know what, I'll just wait. Could be a big show change. Well, clearly, Chris Salcedo's not going to be there, so we got to have something. You never know. Or you could read the press release. Either way, it depends on what you want to do. I don't know. I'm already in weekend mode, so I always, whenever the weekend mode rolls around, I tend to try to, hang out, have a little fun, goof off, and then just, there you go.
Friday, gotta get down on Friday. Everybody's looking forward to the weekend.
Hey, everybody's getting. Why is she getting down? I love the fact that Leo Marchiolo sings it. He pronounces it properly. Foreigners. All right, here's the good part. That was Lucas's part. Here's mine.
It's Friday, gotta get down on Friday. Everybody's looking forward to the weekend. Friday, getting down on Friday.
Why can I sing like this now?
Partying, yeah, partying with xenomorphine. Fun, looking forward to the weekend.
Oh yeah, it is our Friday show on Thursday, kids. And we're rocking it with Leo Moracciolo. You notice I changed the lyrics there a little bit. I'm sure you heard me. That's really the only way you can hear me, because now I can sing just like Leo Moracciolo. And I don't understand why. Back when I was a real singer for a rock and roll band, I couldn't really sing like that. But now I can. Does that mean I'm just old? I don't know. Okay, so there's a lot going on. This music really matches the lead story, if you will. President Trump says the U.S. will wage an unprecedented economic D-Day warfare against Iran. Oh, man. That doesn't sound good. We'll get into that. FBI agents have confiscated Eric Swalwell's electronic devices at the airport in San Francisco for the sexual misconduct probe. So we'll touch on that as well. By the way, we talked about this yesterday, at least we mentioned it. Carla Wyatt, the embattled Harris County Treasurer, is to receive a 30% raise. So let me get this right. You get elected to office, and in your first term, you get arrested 3 different times, twice for drunk driving, once for breaking and entering and stealing something from a vehicle, and you go in, and she requested a $250,000 raise? I don't know, $250,000 raise. Well, this hastily convened panel of 9 Harris County residents, quote unquote, voted 6-3 that Commissioner's Court approve a 30% raise for Harris County Treasurer, a.k.a. serial drunk driver, a.k.a. breaking and entering into a vehicle, Harris County Treasurer, only a 30% raise. I got to have a talk with the bosses at KSEV. I haven't been arrested for any DWIs. I've not broken into anyone's cars, and I'm not getting, well, I don't know. Maybe we'll see. Maybe I can get a raise. Does that mean I should be entitled to a 31% raise? Or do I have to go start breaking into people's cars and drinking and driving because I don't drink? Lucas, how does this work? Do I need to go get drunk and then ask for a raise? Or do I need to break into somebody's car? Or what's the best way to get a 30% raise? I don't think Carla Wyatt can spell hypothesis. I'll just leave it at that. James Tallarico is now he's been backing convicted murderer Carmelo Anthony in his divisive murder case. He said his conviction for stabbing the white football star shows that the system is not working for black Texans. I mean, this is such an outrage. Since when did it become a crime for black teenagers to stab white teenagers in the heart at a track meet after being asked repeatedly to leave? He instigates and then murders them. My God, racism is terrible. Typical Democrat, pandering to blacks to win their votes. Of course, he's not the first Democrat. You remember Hillary Clinton? She carries around hot sauce in a purse so she can be like the black people, and I eat like black people because I'm Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden. Both of them went on. By the way, Tellerico said this on what show was it? Let me look for the name of it. The Breakfast Club, a black show, and pandered to the black people. Joe Biden went on there and said, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're from me or Trump, then you ain't black. How and why do black people support these pandering dirtbags? Anyway, we got some audio. We'll play that coming up. Governor Greg Abbott is proposing a full ban on all H-1B visas, which allow foreign workers to fill jobs in the state's public schools, as well as a ban on accepting foreign education funding in dollars and programs. That's good. So we'll get to that. Also, a 23rd person has been sentenced to prison related to Minnesota's $250 million Feeding Our Future fraud scandal. I know this is going to shock you, but it was a Muslim person. I do believe they were Somali. I know that's shocking. How could you possibly know this? Because we've been told by a Somali quote-unquote refugee, a member of Congress. I think it's about time we stop allowing people from other countries to serve in our government. They make it very clear they serve at their leisure and not so much at the behest of the American people in America. Especially Ilhan Omar. She made it very clear. She represents Somalia and the Somalis in America. And they got a problem with fraud in Minnesota. And don't worry, Tim Walz, Minnesota governor, boy, he somehow couldn't see it. He was shocked as Hades. Couldn't believe it was happening. Which, by the way, I don't think Carla Wyatt is from Haiti. I think she's born and raised here. I guess now we know why Harris County needs to raise our taxes to the hilt so they can afford to give, a three-time arrestee, twice here in Harris County, once in Galveston County, twice for drunken driving, once for breaking into a vehicle, only recommending a 30% raise. Now, by the way, Harris County Commissioner's Court is not obligated to give her that raise. We'll see if they eliminate her position while they're about to hit us with another tax hike, which they're going to do their best. I think we get to vote on it. So tell your friends, hey, if you follow Harris County and you like Lina Hidalgo and Rodney Ellis and Leslie Briones, then you'll vote for raising your own taxes 12%, something like that, maybe even more. I don't know. I think El Senador will probably join us here in the 5 p.m. hour, and we'll probably talk about it because he's got a press release on it. We covered it yesterday on the program. So, there you go. There's a lot going on. We'll get to that. But, of course, it is our Friday show on Thursday, so we'll talk about whatever is on your mind at 281-558-KSEV, 281-558-5738. Let's go ahead and go to the phones. I want to get in a caller here in our first segment here as we get our Friday show on Thursday off to rolling and rocking and rolling and doing what we do. That thing that we do. Let's go to Jimmy X, who's been patiently holding Jimmy X squared. Sorry, Jimmy X to the second power. Jimmy, thank you for hanging on. Welcome to Chris X Radio.
Hey, brother Chris, you're going off the rails, brother. Put up some bumpers.
I do need those bumpers. It's not just when I'm playing pool. That's the conundrum, man. Well, the other thing, too, is apparently I got to go get a couple of DWIs and break into somebody's car and get caught. So if I got to do that, I got a lot of making up to do. No? Okay. I got to work on this. Yeah.
and forthright. That's not the way you advance in the democratic world.
No.
This person, you're having to slide over into the democratic world, which is all faith, double standards, and victim mentality. You are no victim, so you got to start changing.
All right. Well, I feel victimized by this conversation right now, Jimmy, so I think I'm there. I think I'm now officially victimized. I'm going to get a wig. I'm going to start identifying as a woman. May declare for the WNBA draft. I don't know. May declare for some other women's sports. I don't know.
You and the murder hornets, man.
Thanks for the call, Jimmy. I appreciate it. Thank you for setting me straight, because this is a brave new world for me. I'm not used to this. So wait a minute. So now not only do I got to go get arrested for drunk driving twice and then break into a vehicle, I need to go get a wig and identify as a woman so I can be part of the victim side of the Democrat Party. Man, what a scam. I didn't know I had to do all that. No one told me that was going to take place. Jeez. And that's starting to sound like work. Sounds like I actually got to put in some hours. I don't want to do that. I don't know. Maybe I'll get Lucas to look up more things for me here during the break, and then we'll get back. All right, speaking of, let's go ahead and take a break. You're listening to Chris X Radio here on our Friday show on Thursday. Because I went a little long with Jimmy X squared to the second power. We may be a short segment, so I don't know. I probably won't take any calls next segment. But then we got Chris Salcedo, short-timer host of the Chris Salcedo Show. Is that what Chris is actually doing? Did he go buy a wig, and is he going to declare for the WNBA, and that's what he's going to do, and that's why he won't be available to do the morning show on KSEV anymore after this week? Is that what's happening? I'm going to have to ask him. I think it's very possible. Chris has always been smarter than me, so... All right, you're listening to Chris X Radio. We're just getting started here on our Friday show on Thursday. Don't you go anywhere. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Chris X Radio. Chris X Radio on the voice of Texas.
Chris X here to tell you about Humble Amco Transmission and AC Specialists. People who know go to Amco. I personally trust Jay Streckfus and Humble Amco with all of my vehicle's needs. With complete car care, they'll take care of all of your auto needs as well. Always a free check engine light inspection, and tell them that Chris X sent you for a free engine scan. Call Jay today at 281-446-0862. That's 281-446-0862, or online at humbleamco.com.
Plumbing emergencies never happen at a convenient time. Usually they happen on the weekends, holidays, or while you're away on vacation. I'm Richard Sod, president of Nick's Plumbing. When you find yourself facing a plumbing emergency, call the licensed and experienced professionals at Nick's Plumbing and Sewer Services. Nick's Plumbing has been Houston's first choice for all your plumbing needs since 1979. Our experts can take your most difficult plumbing issues and fix them fast, fix them right, and usually for less than you'd expect. Nick's Plumbing and Sewer Services is the right choice for any plumbing job, from a leaky faucet, whole house repipe, or a complete sewer line replacement. You can count on Nick's Plumbing to do the job right. With over 40 years in business and over 150,000 satisfied customers, Nick's wants to be your plumbing company. Nick's Plumbing offers free estimates and free second opinions. Call Nick's Plumbing and Sewer Services, 713-868-9907, or visit us on the web, nicksplumbing.com.
NPL 38548.
Call Nick's Plumbing today. We're on the way.
You know, where we go in life matters, and what we do matters, and we know that taking the wrong road won't produce the best outcomes. Hi, I'm Kathy with Baker Mortgage, and we want you to take the right path when it comes to your mortgage. You know, we live in a world of information overload, but always consider the source. And these are not generally going to be from your big bank or a random offer that comes across your screen. Remember, you're always going to get a better deal on one that you go looking for than one that comes looking for you. You need to deal with somebody who gives a you-know-what, whether or not you're happy in the end. At Baker Mortgage, we do it right. We haven't been around for 68 years because we're lucky. We don't sell CDs, insurance, or anything else. We just provide a great mortgage experience. Isn't that what you're looking for? Call us at Baker Mortgage. I promise you'll be glad you did. We're at 281-313-MOVE, or go directly to bakermortgage.com.
Equal housing lender, license number 263213.
Houston Methodist Hospital has been named the best hospital in Texas for patient care and quality for the 15th year in a row by U.S. News and World Report. We're proud to be a top-ranked hospital in the country, ranked in 11 specialties. For more than 100 years, Houston Methodist has provided our community with the highest quality care. That's the difference between practicing medicine and leading it. Houston Methodist, leading medicine.
And now, we return you to your regularly scheduled dose of common sense. Chris X Radio. Chris X Radio.
Man, I can jam out to some Soundgarden just about any time. Oh, by the way, right before the show, by the way, my internet went out right before the show, but then it came back. It was just a glitch, I guess. So we're good. We're okay. Everything's fine for now. If we cut out, though, I'll switch my backup internet. But I think we're good. So at least for now, as far as I can tell, I think we're good to go. Anyway, we're up on, like I said, KSEV 700 AM. And then, of course, we're also on the YouTube and the Twitter and the Rumble and the Facebook and all that. So I was just posting all that stuff because, well, we got to do that. Right before my internet went out, somebody posted a clip of Ted Nugent back in the, I guess it was in the 80s, maybe early 80s, of him performing Stranglehold on the Midnight Special. You guys remember that show, which is an amazing show? And watching Ted Nugent play that, and I can't remember the guy who actually sings Stranglehold. It's it's another guitar player, backup guitar player, something Holmes. I can't remember. It's Thomas Holmes. I can't remember his name. Needless to say, he's not as famous as Ted Nugent. But that guy actually sings Stranglehold, and then Ted Nugent and him trade off guitars. He plays 99% of the guitar on it, and Ted does, and then they trade off lead solos, and because that guy's a pretty good guitar player in his own right. But watching how good Ted Nugent was and still is. First of all, it sounded amazing back when bands really didn't sound that amazing live, especially on TV shows. But they freaking nail the song, which is good. And then he does a breakdown where he thanks the audience and all of the other bands and everybody else, his friends. And it's funny because in a time of cancel culture, everybody knows that Ted, Uncle Ted Nugent, is very much a strong conservative, and everyone's tried to cancel him, but you can't, because he wrote Stranglehold and plays it, and is incredible, and that song is forever etched in the history of music. And the guy's basically Eddie Van Halen and David Lee Roth in one package. Which is interesting because this is one of the songs that he doesn't sing. Generally, he sings and plays guitar. But if you get a chance, go watch his performance from the Midnight Special. Boy, there's a performance you won't forget anytime soon. What's funny is he was so young. He was very skinny, and he wore the little raccoon tail. Having like I said, from hanging from behind, and he's wearing these skin tight, whatever, white pants. Without a shirt. He was definitely the alpha male. We'll just say that. I've seen interviews where he is the alpha male. I've interviewed Ted a couple of times, actually. And I finally got to meet him years ago when Carl Pittman, Lord rest his soul, he passed away, but when he was running for, was it Harris County Sheriff? He was running for something, and Ted Nugent came in to support him and help raise money for him, and I got to go to the event. It was over there close to where I lived at the time. So it was great to meet Ted in person. And Ted what's funny is, he can be very aggressive in interviews. Man, in person, he couldn't have been nicer. He came out, was nice, shook everybody's hand, took pictures with everybody, and was really cool. And then he played the Star Spangled Banner on guitar. And like I said, it was just a small crowd, mostly, donors and stuff. But I got to go because it was media. So that was very cool to get to meet Ted Nugent. And then also a guy I've been listening to since I was probably 7 or 8 years old. And then, watch him perform. And literally, I was standing about 4 feet from him while he's performing because he didn't perform well in a little stage area, but it wasn't a concert. It was him just performing for us, which was pretty darn cool. So, but watching him perform back in the heyday, dear Lord. And you would have had no idea the guy didn't do drugs or drink. You would have thought he was whacked out of his head on drugs, except for when you watch him play and how talented he is. Okay, let's take a break. We'll come back, pick up with our guest, the short-timer host of the Chris Salcedo Show. I only got one more episode airing tomorrow. He joins us here next on ChrisXradio. We're going to talk to Chris. Maybe we can try to get him to break some news. I don't know if he will. But at the very least, I want to make sure I got a chance to talk to him here on the program and wish him all the best. Chris Salcedo joins us here next on ChrisXradio. I know it's so confusing. We'll be right back.
ChrisXradio. Texas born, Texas raised. The voice of Texas.
Hi, this is Louis Flory. You've been relying on Ability Tree experts for decades to protect and maintain the valuable trees on your property. You can continue to rely on the same professional services. So call Ability Tree experts at 281-441-4179 today.
Everyone knows the BBB is the Better Business Bureau, but depending on what you need, it's the Better Plumber Bureau, the Better Auto Mechanic Bureau, the Better Accountant Bureau. That's because the BBB connects people with businesses they can trust. So think of the BBB as the better check that business out first so you don't get ripped off bureau. Be smart. Always look for the BBB seal because it's looking out for you. And find a better business anytime at bbb.org.
How you doing, Texas? Staying cool? This is Nolan Ryan for American Standard Heating and Air Conditioning. The sun doesn't take days off. Neither should your home comfort system. I trust American Standard Air. Cold when you want it, quiet when you need it, performance to cut through a hot Texas summer. Why fry? The only thing that matters is what it feels like inside. AmericanStandardAir.com. Comfort the way you like it.
What if you could invest in real estate for pennies on the dollar? Find out how this Saturday at 2 p.m. on the Check a Pro Radio Show, when tax lien certificate expert Ted Thomas reveals one of America's best-kept investment secrets. Tune in this Saturday at 2 p.m.
Office is located 1 Sugar Creek Center, Sugar Land, Texas.
Thinking of buying a home? It's important to start off with a solid pre-approval. Hi, I'm Kathy Baker from Baker Mortgage. Yes, we ask a lot of questions, but that's because we're not going to give you a pre-approval that's going to blow up as you're trying to cross the finish line. What's figured in there for property taxes? If it didn't come up, you really don't know what you're pre-approved for. That should make you wonder what else they may have left out. At Baker Mortgage, we get it right. We haven't been around for 60 years because we're lucky. Yes, we have wholesale rates, 80-10-10s, and all kinds of programs, but in the end, it's really about taking good care of people, and they continue to come back and send their kids, their friends, and sometimes their parents. Whether you're buying, building, or refinancing, call us at Baker Mortgage. We're at 281-313-6683. That's 281-313-MOVE or directly at bakermortgage.com.
Equal housing lender. License 263213.
From the KSEV Weather Center. Tonight, expect mainly clear skies with high humidity and a low temperature of 79 degrees. Tomorrow will bring partly sunny conditions with intense heat reaching a high of 101 degrees. As night falls, anticipate partly cloudy skies with warm and humid weather and a low of 80 degrees. Looking ahead to Saturday, it'll be a hot day with a mix of sun and clouds and the possibility of a thunderstorm in the afternoon. The high temperature on Saturday will once again be 101 degrees. With the KSCV Weather Center forecast, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Jason Caterino.
And now, back to ChrisXradio. ChrisXradio on the voice of Texas.
Welcome back to ChrisXradio. It is time to catch up with our guest. He is the short-timer host of the Chris Salcedo Show, also known as a brother from another mother. He has been holding down the reins in the mornings from 7 to 9 a.m. Monday through Friday here for the last 14 years on KSEV, and he joins us here now as an early bon voyage. He's not leaving. He's doing a show tomorrow, and then he's out the door. Chris, always good to have you on the program. Thanks for coming on today. Well, it's good to have you here on the program, and I've heard some rumors about where you're going. We'll get into that. But first and foremost, it's been very difficult to get you on the program over the last few years because you were doing your Newsmax television show, and you've had so much going on. You're one of the hardest working guys in show business, so I always appreciate your time. So, and I was listening to your program this week, I've heard you're going to be doing 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern, so would that make it 5 to 8 a.m. our time? That's an early, full show. Oh. Okay, now one of the rumors I heard was that now you're leaving KSEV to join the ranks of working for James Tallarico, following in the suit of one of John Cornyn's staffers. Is that true? Well, I mean, I was joking before the break, and a caller called in and told me I should put on a wig and try to join the WNBA. That was another rumor I heard, possibly that's what you're doing. You're declaring that you sometimes feel like a woman in joining the WNBA. So that's not the case either? Oh. Okay, man, that's a little sad news. I'm a little sad by that. Yeah, Royce White also played for the Houston Rockets for a short time, so he was here in Houston for a bit. So I hope him and Ennis Cantor Freedom, I hope they do get into the WNBA. I'd like to watch them, show the difference. Maybe then the WNBA would learn what that W stands for. But the other thing, too, is I wanted to grab you on. I know you're going in to do this new thing, and you're right, it's Morning Drive. I've said this before, I've said it to you, and I've said it to my audience many times. You're a good radio guy. I watched you on television. You're an excellent news guy. I hope you're incorporating video into your new adventure as well, because you're so darn good at it. Will that be part of your new program as well?
Nothing's changed in that regard, man. We're still going to be live streaming with our current platforms on Rumble, on X, on Getter. That's not going to change. And I'm in talks with some other people about television as well. The new digital radio gig will not interfere at all in television. As a matter of fact, I made sure of that they would be simpatico if the two mediums ever coincided ever again. So we'll see what that goes.
Well, very cool. Like I said, I'm glad to see you continuing to do that, because you're so good on television and video. And then, like I said, you came from that background, so that's an interesting thing. In fact, if you want to talk about it, I know you started off in television and then worked your way to conservative talk, and then you've been here for the last 14 years. Now, I made the statement, I realize now that I'm wrong, that once you leave, I'm going to be the longest tenured host on the station, but then I completely forgot about the guys who take over on Friday. They're longer than all of us. The Amigos have been on for 24, 25 years, so neither one of us actually have been the longest tenured, but you've had a heck of a run, and we're going to miss you here on The Voice of Texas, that's for darn sure. But, of course, I wanted to make sure I was able to, wish you in person the best, and I hope the new venture is successful and awesome. And then, of course, there's always that, hey, you never know. Things could change in the future, and you might be back one day, but I don't know. I don't know if you'll be looking back. You seem to be looking forward. Can you give us a little rundown memory lane, how you ended up getting here on The Voice of Texas?
Well, yeah, I quit saying never in this business a long time ago. So, and one thing I've discovered, it's so small. You never know when paths will cross again.
An executive director of the Conservative Hispanic Society, and I was studying some guys
for office. You may have heard of them. One of them was a guy by the name of Ken Paxton, who was running for Attorney General. Another guy was by the name of Dan Patrick. He was a state senator at the time, and he was auditioning for the lieutenant governor's job, and I was calling a bunch of these other shrubs, these other Republicans, trying to vet them, and it turns out none of them would even return a call and even talk. They weren't apparently interested in talking to conservative Hispanics, which I found to be pretty off-putting. Like we were somehow dismissed by these so-called Republicans. Turns out they were pretty left-wing anyway, so that what goes with that. But AG Ken Paxton calls me back and then engages in a 45-minute conversation about his vision, what he wants to do as Attorney General. And then I was on the phone with a guy by the name of Dewhurst, who was running for Lieutenant Governor, David Dewhurst. He, about 90 seconds into the phone call, says, "Oh, wait a minute, I got to get this phone call. I got to go." Hangs up on me. And then never calls me back, right? Then the Lieutenant Governor, then State Senator, calls me and says, well, let's have a conversation. About an hour later, we wrap up our conversation. He gave me an hour of his time explaining his vision to save Texas, and he fulfilled that. And at the end of the conversation, he says, "Hey, by the way, I don't know if you know this, but I have a little radio station called KSEV in Houston, and my morning guy is hanging up his cleats. Would you mind maybe just filling in? Because I understand you're in media too." And I said, "Sure." And that was 14 years ago.
Wow. Man, and it's been a good run. I mean, I know you've bounced around a little bit. I know you went and did the afternoons at one point, and then because this is back when I was just listening, I've told everybody I've been a listener of KSEV for the last 25, 30 years. So, but I remember listening, and I heard, I think it was a short amount of time, but basically you've held down Morning Drive for most of the duration, which has been, like I said, that's been your home for a long time. Is it a little bittersweet leaving, even though it sounds like you're heading on to bigger and better things, and I can only imagine what you're going to do. I'll be listening in the morning to hear your news, since I'm not cool enough to get it broken on my show. But I'll be listening in the morning. Is it a little bittersweet?
Yeah, I'm going to be. I wrote an article on this, and it's going to publish tonight, and then it'll be available for everybody to read in the morning. And I'll probably just read it because I wrote it. And the bittersweetness. Yes, I'm very happy about getting the radio show onto a national platform and more earballs, if you will, onto the show. But when you've been at a place, KSEV is not just a radio station. KSEV is a community. KSEV. I mean, there's not one person on this station that I've ever had a beef with. You know what I mean? And it's such a wonderful place to work. Freedom of speech, the American ideals that we all believe in are valued and put into practice here. And a lot of people maybe or maybe not would be surprised to know how rare that is, believe it or not, in a free speech business that we're supposed to be in. So, yes, the good news is the very qualities that I love and will miss so much about KSEV, many of them are in the place I'm going. So there you go.
That's good. Man, no, that's great. And, it's interesting. I've talked about this before, and I'll relay a story, sort of a commonality story, because a while back in the midst of the COVID insanity we had, I've told the story how many times the lieutenant governor, as you mentioned, he has this little radio station. He's never once policed what I've said or told me what I can and cannot talk about. I've heard you say the same. He's never policed anything, let us basically freedom of speech. Well, at one point at the height of the COVID madness, the Daily Beast out of New York came after KSEV, came after me, and I remember it was so funny because I reached out to you when they did and said, "Hey, did they come after you?" And apparently they were too scared to go after Chris Salcedo, but they went after me, and I'll never forget your response, because I'll clean it up for radio. Basically, you said, I would tell them to pound sand. And yeah, they didn't come after you. And I'll say you used a little bit more colorful language. Maybe some of it could or could not be used on the radio, but I'll never forget that conversation with you, because that was when I was relatively new on the station. And needless to say, you don't cower when it comes to freedom of speech.
100%. I remember the conversation well. And yes, I would be more than happy to repeat that for somebody if they inquire, what you should tell all left-wingers who act butthurt over over people taking a stand for their First Amendment rights and a recognition that it is a government of, by, and for the people, not a government of, by, and for the government. And I think you handle that whole situation with poise, as you have come to define the afternoon drive here at the Voice of Texas and in Houston.
Well, thank you for that. Your phone conversation helped me craft an email response to the guy who wrote the article, and I basically just said, hey, we deal with opinion, and opinions can change, and then I listed the links to every article that he was addressing that I talked about, and then at the end, in an homage to the one and only Chris Salcedo, who joins us here now on ChrisXradio, I put, good luck with your little article. If you need anything in the future, let me know. Never heard back from him.
Absolutely brilliant.
All right, well, I'll tell you what, we're getting short on time. I want to make sure you give a final thought, at least for those of us. You've always been very kind to me, and you've allowed me to come on your program anytime I wanted, and have brought me on at various times. And like I said, I haven't had the opportunity to get you on as much as I would have liked over the years. First of all, I want to extend the invitation. You're always welcome to come back on this program if you want to talk about something. That's how brothers from another mother work. And then I want to give you the opportunity to reach out, say anything that you want to our listeners here in the afternoon, which I know there are many crossover listeners that listen to you in the morning as well.
Right. Well, a big thank you to the audience. We couldn't do what we do, what both Chris and I both do, without you. It's been one hell of a ride, and I have been better for the experience. Can't thank you folks enough. Thank you, man. I appreciate you inviting me onto your show.
Well, thank you, and I'll be tuning in and checking out your new venture. I'm looking forward to it. Best of luck to you, my brother, and I hope everything goes really well for you. And maybe, like I said, maybe one day we'll be back together on the same channel. As you say, you never say never in this industry. Thanks for giving us a little bit of your time this afternoon, Chris, and best of luck here for everything in the future.
Thank you, pal. Talk to you soon.
All right, talk to you soon. All right, the one and only Chris Salcedo, once again, short timer. He's got one show remaining here on The Voice of Texas. It airs tomorrow from 7 to 9 a.m. He'll kick off his Friday show tomorrow. I know he's probably a little jealous that I do my Friday show on Thursday, so I didn't want to rub that in. I was a little sad to hear that he wasn't leaving the Voice of Texas to join the Tallarico campaign, and I was also a little sad to hear that he's not joining the WNBA. He's still going to be doing conservative talk and in his new format, so that's great. Man, I don't envy those hours, 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. our time, Texas time. Ooh, that stuff. But, of course, he's dealing with national stuff, so that's 9 to – I'm sorry. That makes it from 7 to – 6 to 9 a.m. each weekday morning. And I'm going to look for his press release. I do follow him on social media, so I'll look for that. Hopefully it'll come out after my show so I can read that press release. And then I'm looking forward to keeping in touch with Chris over the years. We've kept in touch, and like I said, he's a great guy. And once again, one of the classiest guys in the business, one of the hardest working guys, but one of the classiest guys in the business as well. He's always been very, like I said, straight up. Something the Democrats could learn from, but I don't think they're ever going to learn that. That is strictly a conservative principle. And that's all you're going to get from the liberty-loving Latino, Chris Salcedo. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back and wrap up this first hour, and then we'll be joined by El Senador Paul Bettencourt. I mentioned that. He was talking about that tax hike in Harris County they're going to try to shove down our throats. We'll get him on, probably kick off the next hour with it. I hope so. So, anyway, we still got one segment remaining. We'll come wrap things up for this first hour, get you locked and loaded for hour number 2. All thanks go to Chris Salcedo. I appreciate him joining us here this afternoon. We'll be right back with more ChrisXradio.
ChrisXradio. The Three Amigos.
You all are appointment listening. I listen to you every Friday afternoon. Everything stops for you all.
The Three Amigos. Make an appointment every Friday afternoon at 4 on The Voice of Texas.
If you're looking to buy or sell a home and in need of the best realtors out there, look no further than the Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group. They've instilled in each and every member of their team hard work and honest values. And believe me, it's paid off. They truly know the Houston market and what it takes to get a home sold quickly and at top dollar and how to get the best deal possible for your home purchase. They're employee-owned. They care about their clients, so they always go the extra mile to ensure each sale and purchase is seamless and smooth. The Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group have been a top producing real estate team for over 2 decades. Call Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group at 281-440-7900 or see for yourself and go online at thematthewsteam.com. That's thematthewsteam.com. They sell over 1,000 homes a year and they know every inch of the buying and selling market in Houston. Call Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group. I chose them as my realtor. The Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group, your realtors for life. 281-440-7900 or see for yourself online at thematthewsteam.com. That's thematthewsteam.com.
That's the Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group, brokered by EXP.
We're hiring at Garage Door Doctor. No experience? No problem. We provide full training, a brand new van, top-of-the-line tools, a gas card, and steady jobs with weekly pay. This isn't just a job, it's a career with real growth, great pay, and job security. Our team members go from training to 6 figures, and we're ready to help you do the same. Don't wait. Apply now at garagedoordoctor.biz.
The best in financial talk and more. Money Matters, every Monday through Thursday from 11 a.m. till noon here on AM 700 KSEV and streaming online at ksevradio.com.
Plumbing emergencies never happen at a convenient time. Usually they happen on the weekends, holidays, or while you're away on vacation. I'm Richard Sod, president of Nick's Plumbing. When you find yourself facing a plumbing emergency, call the licensed and experienced professionals at Nick's Plumbing and Sewer Services. Nick's Plumbing has been Houston's first choice for all your plumbing needs since 1979. Our experts can take your most difficult plumbing issues and fix them fast, fix them right, and usually for less than you'd expect. Nick's Plumbing and Sewer Services is the right choice for any plumbing job, from a leaky faucet, whole house repipe, or a complete sewer line replacement. You can count on Nick's Plumbing to do the job right. With over 40 years in business and over 150,000 satisfied customers, Nick's wants to be your plumbing company. Nick's Plumbing offers free estimates and free second opinions. Call Nick's Plumbing and Sewer Services, 713-868-9907, or visit us on the web, nicksplumbing.com.
MPL 38548.
Call Nick's Plumbing today. We're on the way.
Fake news hates us. Fake news hates us. ChrisXradio. ChrisXradio.
Man, Captain Jack is listening, and he's emailing me during the show. Don't you know I can't really email back during the show? Sometimes I do during the breaks. But is he commenting on the excellent interview between 2 radio giants? Okay, 1 radio giant and 1 slapnut in the afternoon. No. What's he emailing me about? Him and his girl, AOC. Which, by the way, if you're listening, Captain Jack, from what I'm told, she's single now, so you actually have a shot at your girl. She's freezing her eggs. I don't know at your age if that does you any good or not, but nonetheless, now you've got your opportunity. Tell you what, you can go after her. I'll go after Anna Paulina Luna. I'll take that. I do believe she doesn't look like a donkey when she smiles. Anna Paulina Luna. It's weird how AOC, like I said, she looks pretty, and then she gives that smile, and she looks like a demon, which explains her politics. So there you go. Anyway, I wanted to give Captain Jack some grief. All right, I want to thank Chris Salcedo for joining us here in the last segment. Once again, short timer. His final show is tomorrow from 7 to 9 a.m., so make a point to tune in. He'll announce what he's doing next and what he's heading off to do. Very seldom in radio do you get the opportunity to do what Chris is doing because he's leaving on amicable terms. He just got another offer that he couldn't refuse, and he tried to keep the two together so he could continue, but I knew I'd listen to him talk about that on a previous show, and he couldn't continue, so... But nonetheless, his final day is tomorrow morning, so I was glad to be able to get him on the program and talk to him, at least say bye here formally on the show. And we're going to stay in touch. I mean, obviously I've been in touch with Chris for a while now, been on the station. Once again, I totally misspoke, and I was talking about I'm going to be the longest tenured host. No. I forgot about El Senador and A Strew with a View and even the judge. That screwball. Yeah, I forgot those guys have been on for like 25 years, which is why we do our Friday show on Thursday. Welcome back to Chris X Radio. It is our Friday show on Thursday. What is on your mind today? 281-558-KSEV, 281-558-5738. This is our final segment of the first hour, but don't you go anywhere. Hour number 2 is locked and loaded. We'll get a call here from Bubba, and then we'll wrap up this first hour and then get you ready for hour number 2. Bubba hanging out in the Woodlands. Thank you for hanging on, Bubba. Welcome to Chris X Radio.
Happy Friday, Chris.
Well, thank you. Happy Friday to you too, Bubba.
Hey, did you get a chance to look it up? It was Derek St. Holmes. It was with
Derek
Ted Nugent.
I didn't look it up, but yes, that is his name. I can never remember his name. It's Derek St. Holmes, and he still, when Ted Nugent tours, he still has that guy play with him, and that guy still sings Stranglehold, which is incredible because that guy's got a very unique voice, and such an amazing song.
Yeah, I saw them back in the late 70s. But, hey, talking about music and everything, I tend to jump onto a music format in the middle of the day after you guys, you and Chris, in between y'all shows. And, man, I went over to the enemy camp, KPFT. They play good music, but I hate their politics, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, they were playing some pretty good deep cuts of ZZ Top today. I give them credit for that. But, they're always asking for money and everything. But the guy made a mistake. He slipped up and he said something about they had volunteers down there stuffing envelopes for Tallarico. So I had to call him up and I said, hey, y'all are, yeah. I said, are you guys, I called him, I said, you guys are stuffing envelopes for Tallarico, and the guy said, yeah. And I said, well, he said, you want to come down? Everybody's a volunteer. And I said, well, brother, if you're stuffing an envelope for Tallarico, that's exactly what y'all need to do. You need to stuff them.
It's funny. I've heard this. My buddy who passed away, the Drews man, he used to listen to KPFT as well and loved their music, but hated their politics. He was one of us.
Yeah.
And, man, He, like I said, he said they had there was one host who had a great, it was a Texas music show or something, and he loved it. But he said every time the guy started talking anything about politics, their left-wing nut jobs, which explains why they'd be stuffing envelopes for Tallarico. Yeah. I'm glad you told them to stuff them where they probably should. I wonder if they're stuffing them with ballots or cash or both, or just stuffing them where the sun don't shine. Who knows?
Have a good one, man.
All right, thanks for the call. Appreciate it. It's Bubba out in the Woodlands. It's cool that you got to see Uncle Ted back in the day in the 70s when he was touring. I didn't get to see Ted Nugent live until he came to Houston with the Damn Yankees. That was sort of a super group with him. It was Ted Nugent, Jack Blades from Night Ranger, and Tommy Shaw from Styx, and some other drummer who was like this ace young drummer, and they formed a band called the Damn Yankees, and I had a couple of hits, and they came and performed. It was so funny because the band Jackal with Jesse James Dupree opened up, and that guy mooned the audience and told Tipper Gore to kiss his behind, because that was back when they were going after these bands for explicit lyrics. Once again, lefties trying to control freedom of speech. But I'll never forget, Ted Nugent, first of all, basically in that band, because you had Jack Blades and Tommy Shaw, both amazing singers, and they, from what I can remember, they sang everything. And then they sang harmony. I know Ted sang some backup, but Ted was the guitar player extraordinaire. All he did was walk around that stage and play guitar solo after guitar solo, and it was amazing and it was good. But the most amazing thing about that show, first of all, when Jackal opened up, they had a song they did called the Lumberjack Song, where they had a chainsaw that was tuned to D, drop D tuned chainsaw, that they used to saw a chair up. They sawed a chair on stage to bits with that chainsaw after they did the Lumberjack Song. But then to be only outdone by the Motor City Madman, Ted Nugent, at some point during the show, a big tarp came off, and there was a big, like a target of Saddam Hussein's head at the back of the stage behind the drummer. And Ted Nugent grabbed a bow and arrow, went to the back of the summit, now known as Joel Osteen's house, and shot Saddam Hussein's likeness between the eyes over hundreds of people on the floor of the summit. So, and he nailed it. The guy, once again, he's a deadeye with a bow and arrow. But that was very impressive how he did that during their show. And I think they did an encore too after it, and then they were done. That was an entertaining show. That's back when rock and roll ruled the dials. If I remember Jackal, that song, Down on Me. That guy, Jesse James Dupree, he's also a conservative, if I remember correctly. So they were probably a match made in somewhere. All right, hour number 2 is up next. Thanks for the call, Bubba. Always good to hear from you. We'll be right back with your Friday show on Thursday.
AM 700 KSEV, Tomball, Houston, and streaming online at KSEVradio.com, the voice of Texas.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Democrats who rose to prominence as hashtag resistance figures during President Donald Trump's first term are finding out that speaking out against him may not work at the polls.
Alexander Vindman's stunning loss in Florida's Senate primary to Democrat socialist Angie Nixon was the latest example this week. He was a key figure in the president's first impeachment trial. Dan Goldman, the lead majority counsel in the first impeachment inquiry, was ousted in his primary. And Sri Thanadar and Al Green, who both led impeachment pushes against President Trump, were ousted by younger challengers.
That story from correspondent Bernie Bennett. Ukrainian drones continue to strike deep into Russian territory while Russian missiles hit Ukraine's capital of Kyiv.
A Russian missile barrage has killed at least 12 people in Ukraine's capital as Ukraine continued to strike targets inside Russia. Cell phone footage captured by Kyiv resident Yehor Konovalov showed a flaming plume of orange smoke rise from the capital's horizon. The strikes hit 12 locations across Kyiv, damaging residential buildings, a medical facility, and an educational institution. Emergency crews scrambled to put out buildings on fire and to pull out people who were trapped under the rubble. I'm Karen Chemas.
The U.S. military says the Asia-based USS George Washington aircraft carrier is now operating in the Middle East. The ship is relieving the long-deployed USS Abraham Lincoln following reports of mental health challenges and supply shortages aboard while it was supporting the Iran war. The Lincoln's deployment has included a record-setting uninterrupted time at sea of more than 250 days. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 703 points, the S&P lower by 66. More at townhall.com.
When it comes to our cars, those infotainment screens, turbos, advanced transmissions, and cameras are all great until they fail. And if your car is out of warranty, repairing them can cost thousands. I'm Danica Patrick. If your car is less than 20 years old, no matter the mileage, make sure you're covered for auto repair bills with an auto protection plan from Endurance. They've paid out hundreds of millions in claims and helped drivers with plans that cover engine, drivetrain, electrical system, transmission, and more. Endurance gives you straightforward claims processing and direct payment to your certified mechanic. And your rate won't go up no matter how many claims you file. When your check engine light comes on, don't ignore it because you're worried about a big auto repair bill. Call Endurance and choose the plan that's right for you. Act now and get 1 year of elite benefits, a $2,000 value, free.
For your free quote, call 800-292-8705. 800-292-8705. 800-292-8705.
Coverage varies by plan. View contracts and exclusions at endurancewarranty.com.
This hour of the Chris X Show is brought to you by the John Doe Fan Club, in favor of God, family, country, and sensible conservative solutions for Texas. Be a Planner Show host Nathan Ross wants to remind you, please consider all the syndication terms of your private real estate partnership. By understanding the syndication math, Nathan can help you assess the benefits of ownership. Visit beaplanner.com or tune in each Sunday at 7 a.m. for the Be a Planner Show with Nathan Ross, CPA, on KSEV.
This True Sand commentary is brought to you by Ability Tree Experts.
Ability Tree Experts, Houston's leading tree care professionals. Call 281-441-4179.
From KSEV, here's political contributor Ben Strusand.
Most polling shows that Republicans are going to have a tough time winning majorities in both houses of Congress in November. Voters blame Trump for inflation and believe that many of the necessities they need to purchase have become unaffordable. 2 out of 3 voters don't believe that preventing Iran from building a nuclear weapon is worth the higher gas prices that they are paying. Voters never give a president credit for preventing bad things like a nuclear war from happening. President Trump should realize by now that the Islamic Republic will never agree to a deal that results in a Trump win. The mullahs read the polls and see the domestic political pressure to end the war. It's part of their strategy. We should stop chasing a bad deal. This does not mean that we should resume unlimited airstrikes, but rather targeted decapitation strikes against their leadership, as the Israelis used effectively. If Iranian leaders won't cut a deal, then let's get new ones. The real leverage we have against Iran is economic. We destroyed what Iran took decades to build. Their defense industrial base used to manufacture drones, missiles, and nuclear weapons. Inflation in Iran is running at 40%. The blockade collapsed the revenue stream used by the Revolutionary Guard Corps, their security services, and all the government infrastructure. If our blockade is allowed to continue and not stopped by Democrats and a few lame duck Republicans in Congress, we can eliminate the mullah's leverage over its people. We don't need regime change to pressure them into a better deal for us. Just perseverance. Intercepting what leaks out via Iran's shadow tanker fleet will speed the process. The best guess is this pressure will take 6 months to show results, right around the time of the elections. I'm Ben Strusand, and that's my view.
Ben Strusand, only on AM 700 KSEV.
Thank goodness our weather experts are providing us with hurricane tracking charts and reminding us to be prepared for big storms. But they overlook one very important thing, the damage and destruction from broken limbs and uprooted trees. Call Louis Flory at Ability Tree Experts today, my friend for nearly 40 years, at 281-441-4179, and let him explain how this problem can be minimized with professional pruning. You see, when the tree canopy is too thick and dense, the tree can be completely blown over and tree limbs broken, causing terrible damage to the tree and maybe your home. Where tree limbs break, sap will ooze, and that attracts harmful insects. So you need to call Louis Flory today at 281-441-4179 and have his experts come out and professionally prune your trees to withstand sudden storms that are so frequent this time of year. Visit their website at abilitytrees.com. That's 281-441-4179. Ability Tree Experts, Houston's leading tree care professional.
KSEV 700 AM.
Launch control, this is Houston. We are go for launch.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's ChrisXradio.
What we need right now is a clear message to the people of this country. This message must be read in every newspaper, heard on every radio, seen on every television. This message must resound throughout the entire interlink.
And now, your host.
I believe this is going to be our finest hour.
Chris X.
Boy, does this message ever need to be heard throughout the entire interlink. Welcome back to Chris X Radio. You've reached the second hour of the program. Glad to have you here on our Friday show on Thursday. You guys know we do our Friday show every Thursday because, well, the Amigos take over on Fridays from 4 to 6. So we have to bump up our Friday show 24 hours ahead of everybody else. We manipulate the time-space continuum, and we do it to have a good time, but also to bring you the important news. Speaking of the Amigos, every Friday from 4 to 6, we have El Senador, State Senator Paul Bettencourt, joining us here. Now he is the ringleader of the Amigos every Friday on the Voice of Texas. A big press release that he released earlier. We talked about it a little bit yesterday, but we need to hear from the man himself. Paul, thanks for being here this afternoon. Glad to have you on the program.
Okay. Que paso, Chris X? How are you?
I'm doing good. I talked with Chris Salcedo a little earlier and wished him the best of, and then now I got El Senador on the program.
Well, before I forget, by the way, Chris Collins and Wayne Dolcefino are going to sit in for Chris Salcedo starting on Monday. So it should be a rock and roll time, and we should be ping-ponging some good guests back and forth between the morning show and the afternoon show, but Amigos couldn't exist without you plowing the road for us 4 days a week, Chris.
Well, thank you to
so
you.
Thanks for doing that.
Well, I always appreciate it, Senator, and I always appreciate when you're breaking news on this program. I covered something a little earlier. Carla Wyatt, the Harris County Treasurer, just got voted. This panel of 6-3 voted to give her a 30% raise after she's been arrested 3 times in her first term as Harris County Treasurer. Now, once again, the Commissioner's Court are not obligated to give her that raise, but she was asking for like a $250,000 raise, which is insane for someone who's been arrested 3 times in their first term. But it goes to point out how insane Commissioner's Court is, because they just can't seem to find reasons not to spend money. And now they're wanting to give us another huge, in fact, the second largest property tax increase in county history. And you got a big press release. Break down the numbers and tell us about this. This is insane.
No, it is. Look, the whole thing is this is the second largest tax increase. It's double digit. The question is how big is it going to be? Now, my press release went out that it's roughly for the average home about 10%. It's going to be another $200. But wait, we're not done yet. They already plastered you for $300. Okay, 2 years ago when Lina lied about a 15% tax increase, and it was really a 8 penny increase or 8% increase when she was just lying through her teeth. Now, the problem we've got is that's $500, Chris, in just 2 out of the last 3 years that the county by itself has jacked up property taxes. And look, we managed to get, average school bills down. Lieutenant Governor, myself, and everybody in the legislature voting for it, that have gotten, that tax down to actually about $1,000 on average. In the state, and 61% of the seniors are not paying any anymore. But this just tells you that you can't stop a leftist progressive, bank raid, because that's really what this is. They're raiding everybody's piggy bank at home because they want, $350 million more dollars for the same services. And if our treasurer was even showing up at work, I've got to call John Lomax out for not letting Mark Cowart get into these stories and let him say, well, at least he'll show up to work because she won't. I mean, somebody might be counting the money besides the Commissioner's Court, but it's a bad scene. It's wasted money. And, this is the last gift of our Democrat Socialists of America, Lina Hidalgo, to the taxpayers of Harris County.
Well, Senator Bettencourt, now that I think about it, maybe Carla Wyatt wasn't so bad. Maybe that's why she broke into that car and was rummaging through it to try to find loose change to help pay for their just irresponsible spending over at Commissioner's Court. The other thing that you posted, people need to be following Senator Bettencourt on social media, on X, Twitter X, Team Bettencourt, at Team Bettencourt. You can go read the press release right now. I shared it yesterday because I always try to do that whenever I see El Senador post something.
Sure.
But you also posted something recently with Lina Hidalgo saying that she was a fiscal conservative, and I think if I remember, you were saying you didn't know whether to laugh or cry because it's insanity. Because here they are they're trying to offset every single penny that you guys on the state level have saved us with property taxes by jacking up our taxes to fund their irresponsible spending machine in Harris County.
Sure. Look, Lucas, go to my Team Bettencourt and get the second post, the post one down from the one with the press release. And we've got a clip and we can play it. And basically what you're going to hear in Lina's own voice is that, well, she was, she's either, red or blue, maybe she's purple, and she's really a fiscal conservative. I mean, it is flat nuts. And, I was trying to figure out what to say. It was either laugh or get pissed off. So I finally said, just laugh and get hacked off. Okay.
There you go.
By
the way, I pulled that clip for you, Senator. I'm going to play it right now so people can hear it.
Let's pop it.
I want you to let people hear this. This is Lina Hidalgo, once again, trying to claim she's somehow a fiscal conservative. What?
With respect to my colleagues, over all these years, the left and the right, and obviously I run on the blue side, but if you look at my record, you would consider me a fiscal conservative, certainly with respect to my colleagues. Over all these years, I've voted no on increases that
She's crazy,
the other colleagues
Senador.
have voted yes
it's
on.
not even close.
On major expenses. Under my leadership, the Harris County tax rate has always been lower than it was before I took office. It went down year after year, then went slightly up, but still was lower than what it ever was under my predecessor. So I just want to make that point. And that is what informs my perspective. Do I want to, as somebody who's fiscally conservative, do I want to break that commitment to keep our tax rates lower of, the left and the right? And
I mean, Chris, this is psychobabble, okay? Because there is no way that if she votes to raise the tax rate from where it's at, 62 and change, all the way up to 67 or 68, but Commissioner Ramsey just told me he thinks they're even going to go higher into the 70s, then she could possibly claim this. I mean, it is irrational, irresponsible. It's not real that I don't care if she thinks today she wakes up and thinks she's an economic conservative. She might as well be playing basketball in the woke NBA.
Yeah, well, like I said, she does have a history of mental issues, and I don't want to beat her up for it, but that's the only way you can logically try to deduce what she's saying. Now, here's my question, Senator. If I'm not mistaken, they're not able to go and do this without bringing it up for a vote for us taxpayers here in Harris County, so we get a chance to vote on this?
It depends on how high they go, okay?
Okay.
Now, if they stop at 5 pennies, which is what I think is about $200, okay, and, then no, they don't. But if they did what just Commissioner Ramsey told me, that they're thinking they're going to go even another 5, okay, then that would be the largest tax increase ever. And, yes, that would have to come up for a vote. So, part of it is, look, I think folks are really pissed off about 2 reasons. One, there is an affordability crisis here, okay? And the affordability crisis is there. It's real. It's, by the way, why there's a national downdraft against Republicans, because folks are unhappy with gas prices and pick an issue on economics. So we've got this crew who are supposedly leftist, progressive, socialists for the people that are smashing the people, and the people that are going to get hurt the worst are the working class homes and the lower middle class and middle class homes. Okay, they're going to get hammered with this. In fact, Bill King just he just upgraded his number, and even at the low number, if you just look at the county tax only, because you've got the flood control district and the port and whatever. You've got the hospital district. That's a 12% increase just on the little count on the county portion. And look, there's no working class or middle class person on average who's got a 12% raise. And they're doing it because I think, Chris, they think they're invulnerable. They think they've redistricted, which is why Cagle lost his job. They think that there's a national downdraft and they can't get tossed out, even when they're smashing taxpayers. And I think it's time for us to spread the word and let our voices be heard that if they're dumb enough to vote for this, maybe people might finally decide it's time to vote these tax and smash grab, leftist progressives out of there.
Boy, I couldn't agree with you more. We're talking with Senator Paul Bettencourt. He's El Senador. He is the ringleader of the Amigos here every Friday on The Voice of Texas from 4 to 6. Now, I assume, because I know you talk with Bill King on a regular basis, I imagine you probably on tomorrow's program, you're going to have a whole roundtable of different people going to come on and talk about this insanity, because I looked and saw Bill King's thing that he put out as well, so I can only imagine what he has to say about this, but I imagine you'll be reaching out and talking with him and probably Commissioner Tom Ramsey, the only one that seems to have any common sense left on Commissioner's Court. And we got to make sure that we keep him around, and let's hope we can get crazy Lina replaced by Orlando Sanchez and try to get at least a little bit more sanity and offset it just a bit, because once these Democrat socialists get in, it is so hard to get them out of office, Senator.
Right. Because look, what happened when when Lina got in 2018, there was a big bond issue. Judge Emmett just absolutely wanted it in August. I thought it was a mistake on that issue because, once people vote for it, it's in the rearview mirror. He got like 90-some-odd% of the vote for his bond issue, and then he got tossed out, in November, and Lina took over. Now, that tells you that even if you consider the former judge a rhino, which he is not endorsing, in the Senate race like the guy up in, Tarrant County who's endorsing the Democrat, they get replaced by a leftist progressive socialist. And so that's what happened there. And more importantly, then they went on to redistrict, and they took away what was, Steve Raddick's old precinct, because, Raddick and Cagle had walked out on a vote, and they'd saved like $180 million to taxpayers. Yeah. And then, then Tom Ramsey shows up, and it's Ramsey and Cagle walking out saving $1 billion. Real money. And this is real money, okay, for taxpayers. And then they redistricted and basically stripped it all out to where Leslie Briones can win convincingly, and also Adrian Garcia can. But I'm just calling both of them out and saying, why in the world would you want your legacy to be smash and grab taxes? And, and it's not just, we're going to talk with everybody. Okay, Steve Raddick is calling in, okay? You've named 2 or 3 of the people. I got the bad light up for Orlando, and we're going to put them on the morning show and also, yours, Chris. And we're just going to keep this drumbeat going because it is the taxpayers will not accept this. There is no increase in taxpayer services. In the last 3 years, county revenues have just exploded, like up to 1/3 more. We don't have 1/3 more constables on the street. We don't have 1/3 more sheriff's deputies on the street. There's not 1/3 more courts there's no reason for this. Okay. And I think the Republicans they should be challenging their Democrats and say, do you agree with a 12% tax increase? And flush them all out. I mean, Orlando's up against a real DSA member. Her name is Letitia Plummer. They're having a debate on Monday. I'm encouraging Orlando, let's find out. Ask her, okay? Does she support a 12% increase on county taxpayers? Let's just find out how leftist progressive socialist this court wants to get and the people running for office. And then the public has got to listen and wake up on this issue, because once these votes are done, it's baked in. It would be, just in 2 out of 3 years, $500 more, period, on your average home, which has crept up. Well, homesteads crept up about $403,000.
Yeah, no, it's insanity on a party that is trying to run on affordability that wants to jack your rates. Once again,
and not just running on it. They're beating Republicans up from the left coast to the west coast. Okay. Yeah. But here, like in a few places like Virginia and others, there's an upwelling of what is actually leftist progressive socialist mantra, apparently. Yeah. And they feel like, we've redistricted so well that you can't touch us. Well, I think maybe, Commissioner Briones and Commissioner Garcia should think twice about this. Maybe they can do what happened in Wisconsin with, what was her name? Wacky Hong. Okay.
Oh, Francesca Hong.
Yeah. I mean that she couldn't win. And I think it's just important for people, when you see them, call them, tell them there's no fact or supposition of fact that a 12% increase, double-digit increase, whatever it turns out to be, is justified. It's not.
Yeah, and once again, when it comes to voting, I know we're going to get a chance to vote on the Harris County judge position now that Lina is leaving. And Orlando Sanchez, when I talked to him, by the way, I asked him how many times he was arrested for drunk driving or breaking into a vehicle, and it was 0. He wasn't arrested for anything. And by the way, back then, they had a fiscally conservative budget, and they weren't overdrawn like they are now. They weren't in debt. They didn't have to.
And get Mark Howard on. He's got a good sense of humor. And because for some reason the Hearst, well, I know not for some reason, they're not when they run a story about her and they say, oh, she refuses to comment, then the next comment should be, and her opponent, Mark Howard, says she shouldn't be in office. But they don't print it yet. Okay?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No,
That's about ready to be an Uncle Paul complaint to the top of the paper.
Yeah, I've had both, him and of course Orlando on the program, and we'll definitely get them back as we get closer. All right, El Senador. Well, I think you've teased it pretty well for tomorrow. Everybody needs to tune into the Amigos from 4 to 6.
Well, Chris,
sounds like you guys are going to have everybody on.
I mean, look. Look at your neighbors. Okay, come on. I mean, why are they having to pay hundreds of dollars or more a year for the same stuff, whatever those services are? That's the bottom line, and people just can't afford it. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
and actually, I'm now getting started because this buzz. So, just Chris, you've always do a great job of publicizing these breaking news stories. So I'm telling the audience, talk about it. Talk to Democrats about it. Talk to independents about it. Nobody wants this, and tell everybody in precincts 3 and 3 and 2 to call Garcia and Briones.
Yeah, let them know. All right, well, thanks for your time today, El Senador. I look forward to tuning in tomorrow, and I always appreciate you coming on the program and breaking this kind of stuff, because this is the thing people need to know, what these leftist progressives are doing. We need to stop them.
Well, can I out you for showing up in the booth, but you didn't want to go on last Friday? Oops, I shouldn't have said that.
Oh, no, I just had to stop by to say hello to my favorite senator, but there's no room.
But you're always welcome, because
thank you.
Eric was happy to give up his camera.
He tried to give me his seat like 5 times. I'm like, wait a minute, I don't want to get beat up by Ben. So I know.
Well, because he knew we were talking about this. Okay, so anyway.
Yeah, he wants to run behind and talk about his next future Miss X judge. So there's that. All right, Judge.
You got it.
Thank you for being here. Once again, Senator Paul Bettencourt, El Senador. He'll be back with the Amigos tomorrow from 4 to 6. Follow him on Twitter, X, @Team Bettencourt. He's also on Facebook. You can follow him there. And make sure, because that way that's when you start getting the real numbers on what these clowns are doing over at Commissioner's Court. And it's a pain, and it sucks that the state senator, along with lieutenant governor and governor, have to crack down on these clowns in these counties. But that's what happens. They stack the deck and get in, and then slowly but surely they just can't get enough of your money to spend on stupid things. So it's time to get in people like Mark Howard and, of course, Orlando Sanchez, and try to get some sanity back in these counties. My Lord knows we need it here in Harris County. All right, let's take a short break. We'll open up the phones to you guys. It is our Friday show on Thursday. 281-558-KSEV, 281-558-5738. We'll be right back taking your phone calls, talking about whatever you guys want to talk about. It is our Friday show on Thursday.
The revolution continues after this. ChrisXradio. ChrisXradio.
Do you need money? Want to lower your monthly debt? Are you thinking about a cash-out refinance? Hi, it's Kathy from Baker Mortgage. A cash-out refinance can get you back in your comfort zone, and that's what it's all about. A recent client who closed with us had his payment go up about $300, but his monthly outgo was being reduced by $1,200, so giving him a net positive cash flow of $900. It's not about adding debt, but restructuring it in a way that makes sense, and this math totally makes sense. And please don't sweat it if your interest rate is going up a little or if you're extending the term. I can show you by taking a small amount of what you're saving monthly and applying it towards your mortgage, you're going to pay it off just as quickly, and you'll be way ahead in the money game, which is where we all want to be, right? Remember, we want to help you, but we're not going to help you over a cliff. Baker Mortgage, 281-313-MOVE, or go directly to bakermortgage.com.
Equal housing lender. License number 263213.
Chris X here to tell you about Humble Amco Transmission and AC Specialists. People who know go to Amco. I personally trust Jay Streckfus and Humble Amco with all of my vehicle's needs. With complete car care, they'll take care of all of your auto needs as well. Always a free check engine light inspection, and tell them that Chris X sent you for a free engine scan. Call Jay today at 281-446-0862. That's 281-446-0862, or online at humbleamco.com.
After 14 years, the Chris Salcedo Show parting ways with the voice of Texas. But we're heading to the national show on a high note. The Speaker of the Texas House, Dustin Burrows, joins the Chris Salcedo Show. We'll also talk with our pals over at Breitbart News. How are the Republicans faring as we barrel toward the 2026 midterm elections? A powerful and emotional Chris Salcedo Show gets underway 7 o'clock right after the press box on the voice of Texas.
This is Kevin O'Hara with O'Hara & Company Real Estate. Our country's founding fathers drafted a document that is the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. To secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their powers from the consent of the governed. My friends at O'Hara & Company Real Estate, we believe we're at a precipice in time where we must take back our country. We must stand up for our freedoms or lose them forever. Please don't sit idle and let it slip away. Don't let anyone force you to do something you choose not to. As JFK said, if not us, who? If not now, when? If you're looking to buy or sell real estate, give O'Hara & Company Real Estate a call at 281-373-3393, 281-373-3393, or look us up on the web at o'harare.com. I'm Kevin O'Hara. God bless America, and God bless Texas.
And now, back to Chris X Radio. Chris X Radio on the voice of Texas.
Man, I heard Jeremy spoke in class today. That's what I heard. Maybe that's a very dark subject, but it's a good song. It's back in the 90s. We're all stupid and contagious. Welcome back to Chris X Radio. I want to thank Senador Paul Bettencourt for joining us in the last segment. I wanted to kick off this hour. Once again, talk to your friends, talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends, especially homeowners, and know that these Democrat progressives on Commissioner's Court are wanting to jack your taxes once again, and you can't trust what they tell you. Once again, once they get into office, it's so hard to get it. They bring in these elections administrators, unelected, and botch elections, quote unquote, while they slowly but surely consolidate power, and then it is so hard to get rid of them. Anyway, I'm glad Senador joined us. Tomorrow, they've got a packed house on the Amigos, which they run every Friday from 4 to 6. So, make sure you make an appointment to tune into the Amigos every Friday from 4 to 6 here on the Voice of Texas. It is our Friday show on Thursday. Since they do a Friday show on Friday, we move our Friday show 24 hours ahead, and we kick off the weekend just a little bit in front of everybody else. 281-558-KSEV if you want to join us, 281-558-5738. All right, so let me get into some of these issues here. If you want to join us, 281-558-KSEV. Trump says that the U.S. will go from local to national. Trump says the U.S. is going to wage an unprecedented economic D-Day warfare against Iran. I guess this is somewhat of a new strategy in the military operation. The United States will launch an all-out economic warfare against Iran, President Trump announced on Wednesday. No one has given the Islamic Republic of Iran a greater opportunity to make a deal than me. Tragically for them, they have failed to take it. He posted on True Social. Therefore, today I'm announcing the most crushing economic operation ever taken against any country. This will be economic warfare and isolation on an unprecedented scale. Trump never speaks in hyperbole, does he? He announced that foreign countries that will allow their financial institutions, businesses, airports, or government entities to provide any type of lifeline to Iran will face tremendous economic consequences. They're going to be huge consequences, like you've never seen before. Fire and fury like you've never seen. Trump gave several examples of conduct that the United States would penalize, including oil smuggling, swap lines, cash transfers, exchange houses, ship registries, and front companies. He didn't name any offenders, but said that such nations, you know who you are. This will be an economic D-Day, and we need all of our allies to stand with the United States of America to isolate and defeat the Iran threat. These maniacs are on the ropes, and these historic measures will cripple them and their ability to project terror worldwide. Listen, once again, nobody likes paying additional money for gas. I get it. Oil prices rose on this news. But Iran has been the number one state sponsor of terror in the history of the world for the last 40 years. I do believe 49 years, something like that. They've been working towards getting a nuclear weapon. Yeah, it sucks. I hate that we're going through this. Apparently, we're the only ones in the world that are really willing to step up and take care of this. And let me rephrase that. I say we, I'm referring to the United States, and what I mean is Donald Trump. This is not a popular decision. This is not a popular move, but he's doing it. Because it's better for not only America, but the entire world to quit allowing these dirtbags in Turkestan, known as Iran, to terrorize the entire world, to kill American soldiers, to kill other people, to kill their own people. He's now stepping in and doing something about it. Everybody's called for somebody to do something about it, but no one was willing to actually go through the process. Why? Because military conflict is very unpopular, and Americans don't have the stomach for it. They really don't. Anyway, all right, it is our Friday show on Thursday. Let's go ahead and take a break because we went way over with El Senador. 281-558-KSEV if you want to join us. It is our Friday show on Thursday, so we'll talk about whatever's on your mind today. I know we had a lot of guests, so we haven't heard from the cracker smoker today. Don't know what he was doing. He got mentioned. That was funny. Jimmy X to the second power mentioned him in the first call. Then again, I don't think he needs a wig. I think he's got long hair. He's one of those long-haired hippies. So he doesn't need a wig to join the WNBA. Chris, I don't know if they would allow him to take Luigi the Squeegee with him. 281-558-KSEV. You're listening to Chris X Radio. We've got 2 segments remaining. Don't you go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Call Chris X Radio now. 281-558-KSEV. 281-558-KSEV.
Tune in each Sunday morning at 9 a.m. for On the Money with your host and CEO of Allied Wealth Texas, Ryan Wheelis, who can help you live your richest life possible during your retirement years. That's each Sunday at 9 a.m. right here on AM 700 KSEV.
Hey, KSEV listeners, your favorite app just got even better. Introducing the new and improved KSEV app. Faster, smarter, and easier to use than ever. With a fresh new design, improved features, and a smoother listening experience. Whether you're at home, on the go, or anywhere in between, the KSEV app is ready to keep up with you. Download the new KSEV app today and experience the upgrade for yourself.
Your smartphone is now your radio. All you need is a KSEV app. And with one click, you're listening to KSEV. Anytime, anywhere. No static, no boundaries. Go to the Android Marketplace or the iPhone App Store. Search KSEV. Select the KSEV app. It's free and it only takes a couple of minutes. Listen to KSEV. It's easy with the KSEV app. More details at ksevradio.com.
When it's time to replace a roof, some people put it off until an emergency arises. This is Deb Tejada from Tejas Roofing, your Houston roofing company. I understand. People tell me it's way too complicated and too expensive.
Our customers tell us they wish they would have done it sooner.
I hear it all the time. Once the roof is replaced, they wonder why they waited so long because it's really not that complicated. We show up on time, we quote you a fair price, we replace most roofs in just one day. At Tejas Roofing, we take pride in making the process easy.
The cleanup is phenomenal. People always comment that it looks like we were never there. And now those customers sleep better at night knowing your new roof has been installed correctly.
When you know you need a new roof, don't put it off. Call me now, Deb Tejada at Tejas Roofing, 281-251-0304. Estimates are free, 281-251-0304. When you need roofing repairs, a new roof or remodeling, call us at Tejas Roofing, 281-251-0304.
Checo Pro Joe here. My guest this week will be Cody Johnson from Garage Door Doctor. For all of your garage door needs, contact Garage Door Doctor at 281-343-3632.
Join Joe every Saturday at 1 o'clock here on AM 700 KSEV, the voice of Texas.
From the KSEV Weather Center. Tonight, expect mainly clear skies with high humidity and a low temperature of 79 degrees. Tomorrow will bring partly sunny conditions with intense heat reaching a high of 101 degrees. As night falls, anticipate partly cloudy skies with warm and humid weather and a low of 80 degrees. Looking ahead to Saturday, it'll be a hot day with a mix of sun and clouds and the possibility of a thunderstorm in the afternoon. The high temperature on Saturday will once again be 101 degrees. With the KSCB Weather Center forecast, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Jason Caterina.
The voice of Texas, the voice of reason. ChrisXradio. ChrisXradio.
You know, I am told it is a long way to the top if you're going to try to rock and roll. So I rock and rolled through college. That was fun, but it's a tough gig. When you reach a certain age and a certain level of, well, I wouldn't call it maturity, nonetheless. All right, welcome back to ChrisXradio. You reach the final two segments of our Friday show on Thursday. We'll talk about whatever is on your mind today. If you want to join us, 281-558-KSEV, 281-558-5738. All right, so we went to Trump talking about Iran with his new D-Day, lawfare or whatever, money. So he's going to shut them down that way. Now let's move a little back to Texas. James Tallarico apparently backs convicted murderer Carmelo Anthony in his murder case. He says the black teen's conviction for stabbing the white football star shows, quote, a system is not working for black Texans. He talked about the murder of Austin Metcalf at the hands of Carmelo Anthony. And now he is throwing his support behind Metcalf's killer, Carmelo, who's now 19 years old, who's a convicted murderer now. Now, they got a big win. The attorneys are back in the Texas courtroom today seeking a new trial after they succeeded in a big win for them, was having the judge from the original trial removed because he made comments on a show after the trial was completed. So they've used that to make sure they get rid of him for the next trial. But in an interview on a black radio show known as the Breakfast Club earlier this month, said the conviction of Anthony, a black teenager who fatally stabbed Metcalf, who was white, at a high school track meet in Frisco, is proof that the criminal justice system is not working for black Texans. You ignore the fact that this kid had a knife at a track meet, which is illegal, not supposed to be there. He was in a tent he wasn't supposed to be in. He was told a minimum of 15 times to leave by multiple people. And then once he told Metcalf to make me leave, Metcalf got up and he stabbed him in the heart unprovoked and murdered him. But this is what your candidate for the Democrat Party thinks about justice here in Texas. Take a listen.
In your state of Texas, we see what happened with Carmelo Anthony, and you said it was a tragedy.
Yeah.
What did you mean by that?
Well, I've done a lot of work in the State House on justice reform, and right now we've got a system that doesn't serve all Americans equally, and we know that black Texans have been have not gotten the justice they deserve in many cases. And I'm not an expert on this particular case, but I know that there were no black members of the jury. And to me, that's the only evidence you need to really prove that this system is not working for black Texans.
So he claims the system isn't working for black Texans. First of all, it wasn't an all-white jury. There were no black people because they disqualified themselves because they couldn't be impartial. I think there were 3 of them. Okay, they claimed they couldn't be impartial, so they were dismissed properly. That sounds like justice. And then there were multiple people of Hispanic, Asian, whites, all different on this jury that convicted Carmelo Anthony relatively quickly, and it is a tragedy. It is terrible that Carmelo's response was to show up in a place he wasn't supposed to be, bring a knife he wasn't allowed to bring, and to stab a kid in the heart, to create an issue, create a problem, and his first response was deadly violence. And dirtbags like James Tallarico, Mr. Talafrico, say the criminal justice system is not working for black Texans. Typical Democrat, pandering to blacks to win their vote. Oh, yeah, pandering as hard as he can. He's not the first Democrat to go onto these shows and pander. That was just from August 5th with his interview on The Breakfast Club, this popular New York City talk radio show.
that has become sort of a proving ground for white Democrats who seek to woo black voters. In 2016, Hillary Clinton went on the show and claimed that she carries around hot sauce in her purse. Now, that was a claim that the host, Charlemagne the God, said sounded like she was pandering to black voters. Because she was. That's what Democrats do. They pander. In 2020, Joe Biden went on the show and said that if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or for Trump, then you ain't black. They're being as racist AF as they possibly can. They're pandering. I can't believe black people fall for this. I can't believe that black people vote for these dirtbags when they go. It's like the slave masters going to blacks and saying, going to the slaves and going, hey, listen, you've got your freedom. Okay, you guys have your freedom. You can go off. But, man, you just wait. Wait till you go out there and have to work for yourself. Wait till you have to go pay for your own mortgages and pay for your own homes and have to take care of your own children and do that. Oh, no. You need to stay right here on the plantation and work for me, and I'll take care of you. That is basically what the Democrats do every election cycle. And pander, and then want to defend convicted murderers as though somehow the black race has been slighted because this kid somehow decided that was a logical conclusion to go to a place he wasn't supposed to be, bring a knife he wasn't allowed to bring on campus or at a campus event, and then his first response to a conflict was, one, not to leave, and then two, stab a white kid in the heart. Just imagine if the races were reversed. Imagine if a white kid showed up to a tent on a school venue, a school event, a track event, with a knife, and he said, make me leave, and the first thing he did was stab a black kid in the heart. Do you think he'd be getting the same support from the community? Every black person in this country would scream white supremacy. Not every black person, but every black person on the Democrat plantation, if you will. Every Democrat would do it. Oh, my God, this person must be locked up forever. Instead, they're rallying to get him another trial. This was a slam dunk case. This was a no-brainer of a case. In fact, it wasn't even close. Since when is it okay for anyone to bring knives onto school campus events and stab someone in the heart and then claim you're somehow wronged? He ran from the tent after he stabbed him, and then when the cops came and caught up with him, he admitted to committing the crime and then asked if Mr. Metcalf was okay. No, dude, you stabbed him in the heart. You murdered him. But don't worry, there's always a race hustler like Al Sharpton or now James Talafrico, who's running for office, and he's not doing real well with the black community, and he needs to gin up black votes. So, of course, he's going to jump there and do that. Of course he is. Because everything else that he has voted for and stood for over the last few years is antithetical to most black people in the state. They don't believe God is but non-binary. They don't believe in 6 genders. Most of them aren't transing their children. In fact, we've seen in the Democrat community, black people are making sure their kids are well-versed in violence because a dad usually isn't in the home in the Democrat community. The government is. And when dad isn't in the home, many of these young black men grow up to do what? To commit crimes. That's why they're responsible for a disproportionate amount of crime in our country. And that includes murders. You go look at the murders. The vast majority of murders in this country are committed by young black men. You know what the commonality is? Most of them are from the hood. Most of them are raised in environments without a father in the home because the government, the Democrats, decided to replace the father with government and have done everything they can to destroy the black community. And they have proven with people like Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden and now James Talarico that they're not done destroying the black community. Oh, I know it started years ago with the Ku Klux Klan, when they formed the Ku Klux Klan to try to keep black people scared and not enjoying the American dream. Yeah, it was that. And then they voted against civil rights. Yeah, they did that. And the Jim Crow laws that were passed to keep them from voting. And then now they blame Republicans every time Republicans try to do things that help black people vote and everybody else in the country. No. No, they want to continue to cheat because they're not interested in helping the black community. They're only interested in what? Absolute power. And they're not going to stop.
And it is up to us to get the word out to let people know what kind of a dirtbag James Tallarico is. This is a guy that will hand over your children to the woke mob. Remember back in the day, Democrats were handing over black people to the lynch mobs. And they lynched them in their front yards, all around. And then the Ku Klux Klan, that's what they were doing. Brought to you by the Democrat Party. They're still the same party. They're still the same racist dirtbags. They've just changed the target of their ire. Now they claim Republicans are doing, they're blaming Republicans for all the things that they've done in the past. It's almost astonishing. But that's how they roll. That is what they do. And they're not going to change it. All right, gang, let's go ahead and wrap up this program. We got one segment remaining. If you want to get in here before we run out of time, it is our Friday show on Thursday. 281-558-KSEV if you want to get in before we're done. 281-558-5738. You're listening to Chris X Radio. It is our Friday show on Thursday, and we're almost done. We'll be right back.
Chris X Radio.
When it comes to garage doors, no one knows more than the doctor. Garage Door Doctor.
We got a call late New Year's Eve. A father with big plans for his family the next day said his garage door spring just snapped. He couldn't get his car out and wouldn't be able to get his family to where they needed to go. He felt stuck and alone. So we showed up fast with the right spring and the right parts to fix it right. We didn't talk about the price. We didn't wait till the morning. We fixed it right then. Because at Garage Door Doctor, it's never just about the job. It's about the person behind it. The dad, the veteran, the grandpa, the neighbor. Hi, I'm Tommy Mello, owner of Garage Door Doctor. When you need help, we're the ones that show up. Call Garage Door Doctor today or schedule online at garagedoordoctor.biz. We fix garage doors fast with quality parts designed to last a lifetime because we're proud to serve the people who rely on us.
When it comes to garage doors, no one knows more than the doctor. Garage Door Doctor.
Plumbing emergencies never happen at a convenient time. Nix Plumbing offers free estimates and free second opinions. Call Nix Plumbing and Sewer Services, 713-868-9907, or visit us on the web, nixplumbing.com.
MPL 38548.
Finding a reputable business shouldn't require luck or chance. But how can you tell who you can trust? Always look for the sign of a better business and find a better business anytime at bbb.org.
If you're looking for the best generator when it comes to powering your home when in need, then join Jim Cloud for the Checker Pro A&A Gen Pro Show every Thursday at 1 p.m. here on AM 700 KSEV, the voice of Texas.
Plumbing emergencies never happen at a convenient time. Nix Plumbing offers free estimates and free second opinions. Call Nix Plumbing and Sewer Services, 713-868-9907, or visit us on the web, nixplumbing.com.
MPL 38548.
If you have roof problems, you can sure see them when it rains. This is Deb Tejada from Tejas Roofing. If you see a leak, call me immediately, 281-251-0304. I'll send over the Tejas Roof Repair truck.
That truck has everything our experienced crew needs to fix your roof, right then and there.
The Tejas Roofing crew has been working together fixing leaky roofs for 15 years.
It's not a pretty truck, but it has everything we need to get the job done. I kind of like the way it looks.
Most roofing repairs cost less than $500. Why? Because we find the cause of the leak and repair that leak. We won't try to sell you services you don't need.
And we'll fix it right away because everything we need is in our truck.
Don't put off fixing a leaky roof. Call me at Tejas Roofing and I'll send over the truck. 281-251-0304. When you think of roofing repairs or a new roof, think Tejas Roofing, your Houston roofing company. 281-251-0304. That's Tejas Roofing, 281-251-0304.
Chris X Radio.
Well, you know, it may not be our last dance with Mary Jane, but it is Chris Salcedo's, well, his last dance with KSEV. Welcome back to Chris X Radio. You're listening to The Voice of Texas. This is our final segment of our Friday show on Thursday. That's right, we're going to wrap things up here at 6 p.m. We'll return to your original broadcast programming. We'll relinquish the reins, and then we'll be back next week, God willing. I want to thank our guest today, Senador Paul Bettencourt, who joined us talking about this massive tax increase that Harris County wants to dump on the Harris County residents. I want to try to do anything I can to make sure that doesn't happen. I want to stop that, so we'll be talking about that here in days and weeks to come. Also want to thank Chris Salcedo. His ultimate program, his final show here on KSEV is tomorrow morning from 7 to 9 a.m. Tune in. I guess he's going to announce where he's headed and what he'll be doing. So that is tomorrow morning from 7 to 9. I'll be tuning in, checking it out. And then, like I said, if all goes well, I'll be back on Monday, God willing. Like I said, this is a crazy business. At any given moment, anything can change. So as we wrap up here, the program today is our Friday show on Thursday. All right, so I kind of saved this story for the end because, well, it is what it is. The FBI has confiscated Eric Swalwell's electronic devices at the airport for a sexual misconduct probe. Disgraced former Representative Eric Swalwell was reportedly confronted by the FBI agents at San Francisco International Airport on Saturday, where his electronic devices were seized as part of his federal criminal probe into sexual misconduct. Swalwell, who resigned from Congress in April, was relieved of his cell phone and other associated electronics after a search warrant was produced. This is according to the Daily Mail. They first reported it. Additional undisclosed potential evidence was also taken, as well-placed sources told the outlet, clarifying that he cooperated fully throughout. Now, Swalwell, who's now 45 years old, faces multiple sexual assault allegations. At least 4 women have made sexual misconduct allegations, including a former staffer who claimed the married politician raped her twice when she was too intoxicated to consent in 2019 and in 2024. Now, files declassified earlier this week by President Trump on Swalwell and the Chinese spy known as Fang Fang also reveal the disgraced ex-congressman admitted to the FBI that he had a sexual relationship with a Chinese spy and that the Bureau attempted at one point to recruit her without her knowledge. So, once again, the lamestream media, man, they didn't seem to have much interest in it. But Alex Stein did, and he had one of the best interviews.
Eric, is this Fang Fang the Chinese spy, Eric? Remember when you slept with that Chinese spy, Eric? Why don't you ever talk about that, Fang Fang? Remember you're banging Fang Fang? People are saying that she gave you an insertion. Is that true?
What?
This is the guy's banging Chinese spies. Nobody investigates you, Eric. Why is that? Nobody investigates this guy banging Chinese spies like it's no big deal.
Once again, while he was serving, no one seemed to be investigating him. Well, he's being investigated now, obviously. Talk about a fall from grace. He was one of these big anti-Trumpers, impeachment hoaxers, one of the ones trying to impeach Trump every 5 minutes. And then it turns out he was sexually assaulting staffers and other women, having an affair with a Chinese spy. And they were trying to place other Chinese spies in other congresspeople's offices. This is what passes for a Democrat, folks. You go on the national level, there you go, it's House of Representatives, Eric Swalwell. And then he would try to run for governor of California and had to drop out because too many of these sexual assault allegations were coming forward. So then you got that here on the local level. You have Democrats like Carla Wyatt, who in her first term as Harris County Treasurer has been arrested 3 times, twice for drunk driving, once for breaking into a vehicle and taking whatever was inside that vehicle. They somehow got the owner of the vehicle, which, by the way, I saw the interview initially. He said, I don't know Carla Wyatt. I don't know who this person is. I don't know why this person was in my car. I don't know what they were trying to take. They somehow got her to drop the charges, I guess, or to not file charge or whatever. But she's still facing drunken driving charge in Galveston County, and she's been arrested twice in Harris County. 3 arrests total, initially asking for $250,000 raise to request $305,000. Well, this panel of 9 Harris County residents voted 6-3 to approve a 30% raise for Carla Wyatt. Why do we give these politicians raises? Who are these clowns on this convened panel that think a person who was arrested only 3 times, she was only arrested 3 times, let's give her more of our tax dollars so then Commissioner's Court can go back and try to jack us for the highest or the second highest tax increase in Harris County history. It is time to get rid of these clowns. Hopefully Mark Cowart can get in and replace her, and then we get Orlando Sanchez as Harris County judge, get rid of Lina Hidalgo, and start reinstating some sort of sanity in Harris County. Lord knows we need it. And then make sure on the state level in November, we get out and vote for Ken Paxton, the most successful attorney general in state history, instead of hiring a guy for U.S. Senate that is a race hustler, that wants to side with convicted murderers. Shows you how much Democrats truly care about people, right? They don't so much care for that guy, that kid he got stabbed in the heart who died. They don't care about him or his family. They only care about the black kid who instituted it, did it. All right, gang, have a safe weekend. Be safe. We'll see you on Monday, God willing.
AM 700 KSEV, Tomball, Houston. And